Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're looking into the disappearance of Jami Sue Sherer, and we're going to look at some Jane Does. She was 5 foot tall, 90 pounds, 26 years old, missing since September 1990. So we have this one, and between 1985 and 1995 in Mission, British Columbia, Canada. That this one could be her. Um, and it says missing teeth in the upper right portion of her jaw, but I don't know if she was missing the teeth while he killed her or before. It says may have worn dentures, but sometimes when they kill them and they move their remains, they lose teeth, so I don't know. Then we have this one, August 1st, 1991, 1 year prior, and this one's also in Canada, so this one could be her. And then we have some more that get further away. Lynn County, Oregon. So this one could be her. And we have this one in Roseburg, Oregon. And it says years prior, but I don't know how many years. So, and then we get a little bit further away. Deschutes County, Oregon. Not recognizable. 18 to 60 years old. And this one. And those are the only ones I could find. I didn't check Utah or Nevada or any place like that. But, and here's photos of her. And I guess she was killed by her husband. The newspaper says, Seattle Times, June 9th, 2000, says, after a week of deliberation, 11 jurors yesterday finally persuaded a lone holdout to find Stephen Sherer guilty of first-degree murder in the 10-year-old disappearance of his wife. 10 years. Sherer shouted an obscenity at his sobbing mother-in-law, Judy Hagel, as she kissed a tattered photo of her dead daughter, Jami, when the verdict was read. They were the first words Sherer uttered the entire month-long trial in King County Superior Court in Seattle. How do you go to prison for something you didn't do? Sherer bellowed as jailers handcuffed him. When Jami does turn up, you can all rot in hell. You guys got your scapegoat. Yesterday's verdict made Sherer 38 one of the only a handful of people in Washington state history to be convicted of murder when a body has not been found. After the defendant's outburst, Superior Court Judge Anthony Wartnick ordered his bail to be increased to $5 million from $1 million. A sentencing date has not been set, but Scherer's lengthy criminal records means he faces a prison term of between 22 and a half and 32 years. So, and then it says, and prosecutors said they may seek an exceptional sentence or even more time. Now you see what it's like, Hagel said after Scherer's outburst. My little girl deserves to get a little something out of this. Now she's got it. We're so happy to have justice for Jami. Tired and frazzled, jurors said 11 members of the panel voted to convict Sherer by the end of the first day of deliberations last Friday, but one jury held out until yesterday, they said. At the beginning, most of us thought this would be very tough to prove because there's no body, said juror Laurel Carlinzy, a Seattle graphics designer, but there was just a huge amount of evidence. And there's more. You can look that up to read it. I'm going to scroll down and where I'm reading. So, and then there's another newspaper article, June 11, 2002, by Michael Coe, Seattle Times. It says, nobody is disputing that Stephen Sherer was possessive and controlling. He told his wife, Jami, that he would kill her if she was ever unfaithful. But whether the threat was enough to convict him of murder when she mysteriously disappeared in 1990 is once again a question before the court. Sherer, who is serving a 60-year sentence in the Washington State Penitentiary near Walla Walla, has asked the State Court of Appeals in Seattle to overturn his June 2000 conviction for murdering his wife. It's one of the few cases ever in the state in which a defendant was convicted of murder even though a body was never found. She disappeared September 30th, 1990 when she was 26, leaving behind a 2-year-old son and a job at Microsoft. Family members and friends have said they have not heard from her since. So yesterday, Stephen Scherer's attorney, Lionel Nussbaum, told the 3 Applegate judges that the state had presented insufficient evidence to convict him of premeditated murder and had failed to follow up on a second suspect. The appeals court is expected to issue a written decision within several months. So it says, there are many families in which domestic violence occurs, but there is no murder, Nussbaum said. Stephen Scherer's prior violence toward his wife merely filled in the gaps when the state had no evidence, she said. For the murder case in which a body has not been recovered, Nussbaum said a specific criminal act must be tied to the death. She said there is no such evidence in Scherer's case. In our society, people do vanish for years without motivation, with no good explanation. It does happen. So Marilyn Brenneman, a King County deputy prosecutor, said the state's responsibility was to prove that Steve Sherer had intended to kill his wife and did kill his wife, not to prove how. Jami disappeared from the face of the earth just after she told Stephen she was leaving him, Brenneman said. The defendant had motive. He had a history. The night before she disappeared, Jami Sherer told her husband that she was having an affair. She had arranged to move in with her parents and had called her mother the next afternoon to say she'd be right over. Other circumstantial evidence presented in the trial included a bloodhound dog, which indicated that Stephen Sherer was the last person to drive his wife's car before it was found abandoned in Shoreline, and a dirty shovel inside Stephen Scherer's truck, which was splattered with mud the day after Jami Sherer disappeared. Prosecutors have speculated that Jami Sherer was buried in the woods. The jury said the amount of evidence against Sherer, now 40, was overwhelming. Police suspected Stephen Sherer immediately after the disappearance, but with no body and no blood, they couldn't even prove there was a murder case to solve. So it took 10 years. And then we go down to Seattle Post. Tracy Johnson, April 16, 2003. A Mill Creek man in prison for 60 years for killing his wife plotted behind bars to get even with those who put him there, prosecutors said yesterday. Stephen Sherer wanted a cellmate to burn down the Bellevue house where his former mother-in-law and his own son live, prosecutors said. They said Sherer offered to pay the man with $17,000 in jewelry. Snaring Sherer in the alleged revenge plot involved elaborate police work, including bugging his telephone calls, even staging a fake house fire so that he would think from his cell in the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla that his plan was carried out, according to the court papers. A Bellevue newspaper even published a story about the fire. Then came yesterday when prosecutors charged Sherer with a criminal solicitation to commit arson. Investigators say they also learned Sherer had been talking about doing a hit on a deputy prosecutor, one who won a hard-fought murder conviction against him 2 years ago, even though his wife's body has never been found. Prosecutors say additional charges against Sherer, 41, may be warranted. Investigators got tipped off when Sherer alleged revenge plots in December 2001 by a person whose name has not been disclosed. The young man who was supposed to carry out the plans ended up cooperating with police. In documents filed yesterday, prosecutors said Sherer recruited a 21-year-old cellmate who had nearly finished an attempted kidnapping sentence and was about to go free early yesterday. The young man reportedly agreed to kill Deputy Prosecutor Marilyn Brenneman and witnesses in the murder case, including an unnamed man who lived in the Lake Hills area of Bellevue, according to court papers. Police, however, discovered that the address was really the home of Scherer's former mother-in-law, Judy Hagel, who has always been convinced that Sherer murdered her 26-year-old daughter, Jami. Hagel is raising the 13-year-old son of Jami and Stephen Sherer in her home. Stephen Sherer said he wanted the home's occupants killed, but didn't mention Hagel or his son, court documents said. Wow. And you can look that up online, and that is just crazy. He even admitted to killing his wife. Sherer allegedly told the person that he killed her because she was going to leave them, and that there was no murder weapon because he choked her out, according to court papers. So he even told them that he had killed his wife. So Let's see what the Charlie Project has to say. And it says Jami was married to Stephen Frank Sherer at the time of her 1990 disappearance, and the couple had a young son. They lived in Redmond, Washington at the time. A photo of Stephen is posted with a case summary. Their marriage was quite troubled, and Jami had decided to seek a divorce from Stephen by the autumn of 1990. And there were parts of it that said he was very abusive to her. She left their residence during the evening of September 29th, spent the night at her parents' home with their son. Jami agreed to meet him the following morning after he pleaded with her during a phone call to reconsider their divorce plans. She left their child with her parents, and she called her mother at 8:30 a.m. and said Stephen grabbed her purse and ran off. Jami assumed he was headed for their residence and planned to meet him there. She called her parents again about 11:45 a.m. and said he was indeed at the home. Jami said she planned to stop at Taco Time, a local fast food restaurant, and purchase lunch before returning to her parents' home. She's never been heard from again. So there's all these phone calls proving she was with him, going to meet him, trying to get her purse back. So Stephen called Jami's parents approximately 30 minutes after his wife called. He called again 15 minutes later, inquiring as to where Jami was. Jami's mother told authorities that she was used to her son-in-law's frequent phone calls. Jami's mother became concerned for her daughter's well-being when Stephen failed to call at 6 p.m., which was extremely unusual for him. He said there was no sign of Jami and he was going to pick up their son from her parents' house. Authorities learned later that Stephen had already contacted his own family members and friends to announce that Jami was missing. Stephen told Jami's family that he was too distraught to return to the couple's home, so the parents allowed him to stay at their house with their grandson occasionally throughout the coming week. Too distraught. Jami's charcoal gray 1980 Mazda RX-7 was discovered abandoned several days after her disappearance in Shoreline, Washington church parking lot. Her purse was missing from the vehicles, but investigators located her suitcase inside. Her clothing was packed in the luggage, but her underwear was missing. There was no trace of her at the scene. Stephen was considered the prime suspect from the get-go. His friends reported that he began behaving strangely after she disappeared. He attempted suicide with carbon monoxide, but he called 911 to go to the hospital before there was any serious damage done. He began dating other women right away. He was frequenting bars. He had Jami's panties tied around his arm, which she didn't have any in her suitcase. He also wore her necklace, telling people it made him feel closer to his missing wife. He frequently claimed to be a widower on official documents, saying that she was dead. He informed several of his friends that Jami was killed in a car accident. He told others she had been the victim of the Green River serial killer. Her car showed no sign of being involved in any type of traffic accident, and there was no evidence to suggest her disappearance was linked to the Green River cases. Stephen aroused more suspicion when he reportedly told another friend he was glad she was gone. He took over his dead wife's finances or missing wife's. He took over his missing wife's finances in October 1990 and cashed all of her assets. His sister contacted authorities and stated she saw a large red spot on the carpet of her brother's house shortly after Jami vanished. Investigators searched the home and discovered that a portion of the carpet had recently been repeatedly steam cleaned, and a new piece of carpet had been sloppily placed over the area where Stephen's sister stated she saw the stains. Neighbors said that Stephen hired a carpet cleaning service during the days following his wife's disappearance. A friend said that he saw a shovel in Stephen's trunk on October 1st, the day after Jami was last seen. The shovel was not normally carried in the vehicle. So, and it goes on and on. So, his behavior had changed dramatically. When he got with Jami's loved ones, noticed right after she got with him, he made her do things like he made her get breast implants. He made her bleach her hair blonde. They were married in 1987. Their son was born by 1988. Stephen was very possessive. Besides Jami's mother's statements regarding his constant phone calls while Jami visited her family, he also made further restrictions on her time. She lost one job due to excessive tardinesses and absences, and her family and friends maintain that Stephen's demands caused the job loss. So, Yeah, it looks like he killed her and did something with her body, but they're not sure. And I don't know if he buried it very deeply, but I don't know. He also continued to have problems with the law, it said. Stephen was wounded by a gunshot wound in 1992 in a bar brawl. He also violated the terms of his probation for previous arrest by using cocaine and failing to meet with his probation officer. So, yeah, he's got 12 different aliases over the years, and most of them equipped with false ID. He's got a criminal record. Stephen Christopher Michaels. Jami was declared legally dead in 1997, and then he was arrested. It took 10 years, and he was found guilty and sentenced to 60 years in prison, it says. And then it talks about him trying to get her parents' house burnt down with his son inside, not even caring whether his son was inside the home or not. And like I said, these are the ones that I found that were the Jane Does that could possibly be her at this time. So, and I don't know. I don't know if any of them are her, because there's no way to know. But if you want to go looking for a Jane Doe that looks like it could be her, you could check the distances, and that's what I have found. Anyway, don't forget to stop and pray for her loved ones, for their son and for their family and everything that they've been going through. I guess you should pray for his family as well and all that they've suffered and all that they've gone through. And it's just tragic. So that child has lost both a mother and his father, and that is really sad. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.